Alright, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to make representational art. This is an example of collage. So here is my finished art right here. The materials that I used are construction paper, scissors, glue, and you can use either regular white school glue or you could use a glue stick. And you can either use crayons or oil pastels. And oil pastels are basically like these little sticks. And these are not very good quality. They're very waxy. These are almost basically like a crayon. But you could use really anything. So what do? The first step is you take a piece of construction paper, just a plain piece of construction paper. And then you get another piece of construction paper and cut out like a rectangle, and I used brown construction paper for my background and blue for my table. Then I cut out all the pieces for I cut all the pieces out for my my collage. And the collage means I'm adding or gluing paper and layering it together. So for this, so basically what you do is after you cut out your blue pieces, I glue them down. So I did my you can use whatever color you like. This is my floor or table. So what I did was I just cut out a bunch of different pieces. It didn't matter if they were overlapping, that means they were on top of each other, or if they were weird shapes. Different sizes, it kind of makes it a little more interesting, like to have a neat texture like that they're different shapes and sizes. That's why I did that. Also because what gave me the idea to do that is because I cut this a little bit too short, so I had to put more than one piece, and I said, oh, that would be a good way to solve my problem. And in art, there's always a way to solve your problems, and that's what it's like, a big puzzle. So that's what art's all about, is finding a unique and creative way to solve a problem or to, make something interesting. So what I did was I glued all those down. Then while those were setting in place, I took my this is a red sheet of paper or pink sheet of paper, and I just used a crayon to make kind of a half moon shape. So see if you can see that shape. Now let's use it. I'm going to use a darker marker so that you can see the shape. And that's going to be my bowl. And then I just cut that out. As you can see here, I cut this type of shape out. It's right here where I cut it out. And then I glued it there. The same thing with my oranges and apples. I took my yellow, I actually used yellow, I didn't use orange. It's my undercolor, my undertone, which is a tone underneath the overtone that you are going to be using for shading. And I use this as my base color, and I traced these circles out and I cut them out. For my oranges, I used 3 oranges. And then here, my apples, I used green construction paper. And I cut these 3 shapes out. So what those shapes look like are basically kind of like that. Now you can do anything you like. If you want to do more of a heart-shaped one or a flat, they don't even have to be apples. They could be grapes or bananas or any kind of fruit you want. You do not have to use green. Be creative. Have fun with it. Once you cut them out, then you have these little pieces, and you can see they're not fully glued down underneath this. This is the yellow of the orange, the background of the orange fruit, and this flap comes down. You can see over here. I didn't glue them all the way down so you could see what it looks like underneath. I didn't really glue them all the way down. Okay, so you glue them there, and it looks very simple. And then once it's glued, then you take your paper And let me cut this one out really quickly so I can show you what it looks like. So I'm going to cut out one of these apples. So I cut out an apple. Let me set this drawing to the side. I cut out an apple and I used my crayons to create shading. So this is, if I'm going to have to pretend, well, where's my light coming from? That's how you make something look 3D. So if this is where my light source is coming, you're going to see a shadow. Let me see if I can give you an example. I've got a shell here, and the light, you see the light is stronger here, so it's a lighter color. And then on the other side here is the shadow. So if you look at the shell, there's actually different colors. There's white, peach, brown, yellow. And then the darker side, it even looks red, a little bit, a tiny bit of red, brown, maybe even purple, blue. You could use, if you see, look really closely, what are those little shades in there? So that's my shading. So you can really use any color to make something happen, to make it look 3D. So with this, I'm going to put this side by side. So I've got my apple. How did I make this apple look like this apple? Well, I used my oil pastels or my crayons. So we're going to go step by step to show you how that looks, how that works. This is exactly the same paper that I used for this one, as you can see in my when I cut it out. It's exactly the same color, but I used a lot of different colors to achieve that. And I'll show you all the different colors I used to make that apple work. Let me see. Boom. That's how many, whoops. That is how many colors I used. A bunch of colors. And I use a bunch of different colors on the orange and the shadow here and the fruit bowl. So it's a bunch of colors. Okay, let me move this other way. Actually, no, I'll keep it here so that you can see what we're doing. All right. So I'm going to start with my darkest colors. I always like to start with my darkest colors. And I'm going to pretend that this is my light source. Okay, that's a light shining on my apple. So my, if you look here, my light is on this side of the example. The light is right here because this is shinier and lighter. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. The light will come right here and it'll shine and make a shiny part right there. So that this part is going to coming out and that part is going to be pushed back in space. So in space, if something is 3D, this is 2D right now, two-dimensional, it's flat. It has no thickness. Okay, if it's 3D, like my shell, I'll leave that there. Like you can see it looks, if this was flat, it would still look 3D because I have darker areas and lighter areas. So on this little apple, my darkest, I'm not going to use black yet, but I'm going to use my darker greens and my darker blues. So I'm going to go in here with my dark green. I'm using really bad quality, like I can't stand these crayons, but the reason, these are like dollar store crayons. And the reason why I'm using these is because I want you to see that it can really be achieved with any kind of materials. Okay, so I'm going to start by going around my apple, around the edges. Okay, easy so far. So that's where my shadow is going to be. It's going to be dark at the bottom, and then it's going to be dark around the side that it doesn't get any light, because that side is in shadow. It's going to be dark where it goes down. It has a crease like that because it goes down. It's going to be dark there. It's not going to be too dark up top here. A little bit less than the other. Then I'm going to press, like I'm pressing harder on the outside and I'm pressing less on here. Okay. Then I'm going to put, I'm not really going to put anything on this side. I'm going to come up to about here. And then I'm going to stop. Okay, now I'm going to switch colors. This is another green. It's almost the same, but it's a crayon apparently. But to me, they're pretty much the same. I'm just going to do that to smooth it out a little bit. I'm going over exactly the same parts that I did with the other color. I'm not really changing it, but it's just kind of darkening it and smoothing it. Okay, done with the green. Now I'm going to go over with a lighter green. And I'm just going to go through the other parts right here that are closer to the center. So it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's going to be lighter, lighter, lighter gradually, okay? So now I'm going to go over my lighter green right here. All right, so you can see it's starting to look rounded. It's going from dark, kind of a medium, and a light area. So it's starting to have a little bit of a shape. I'm going to go over the top here just a little tiny bit. Okay, and now I'm going to take that same green in the crayon, because again, these are bad quality, and kind of smooth it out. Okay, it's just knowing about where to place this stuff. Now I'm going to do yellow. Yellow, I'm just going to go in a little bit. I'm making like an ombre or a gradient. So it's going to be lighter, lighter, lighter. And until I get to this area. So my shiniest part is going to be here. Then I'm going to go with my yellow crayon. Then I'm going to go in with my white. And the white is going to be almost like a little circle here. All right. All right, so you can see it's just by adding I did the dark green, the light green, the yellow, and the white. It's already like really coming to life. Now I'm going to get my very dark colors. It's different color families. These cool tone blue and black and purple. And I'm going to start in with my dark blue. And this is the darkest of the dark areas are going to be like the bottom, right? So the bottom is going to be really dark. I'm going to do a little bit of dark here on the bottom and on the edge, going up a little bit. Okay, so that's enough for that. Moving on to the lighter blue, I'm going to do, these don't blend well because they're so poor quality, but if you have a better quality one, it'll look even better, like more realistic. So I did a little bit of blue there. And then I'm going to do a little bit of purple. I'm going to add a little bit more. I want to go in with a little bit more blue, kind of mix it in a little bit here. Just a tiny bit, lightly go over where I already did the dark green. And I'm going to take the light blue and go where I had the light green. And I'm starting to make kind of a circle around my white circle. Lastly, I'm going to take the black and I'm going to make it very dark under here. And if I'm going to use the back of this really quick, and I'm going to put when I glue it on, so I glued on here, you can see it looks really realistic. Well, much more realistic. And I would have that, see, I just drew the stem, like a little tiny curved line with it. It's my stem. And so there you go, there's your apple. So it looks a little more rounded, has more of a 3D look to it. That's really all you have to do. I did the same with the oranges and I just glued them. As you can see, if I put this apple in here, it looks like it goes. I could even put it right here. As a matter of fact, I think I'll do that. I'll glue it right here. My glue. And then place it like so. Now I'll put it a little higher. And then a little stem, and there you go. And that's the finished product. And thanks for coming, and I will talk to you next time.